Republican Congressman Adam Kinzinger, a member of the House Foreign Affairs Committee, forgive me, that's Senate, joins me now. Good to see you. You know what? I want to pick up on that point, because intimidation is something that most of us give into as human beings if we're sitting across from the FBI.
Yeah, that's right. And you know, your prior guest had it correct in saying maybe it's not illegal for the FBI to do that. And it may not be. I'm, you know, as a not FBI agent, I don't know exactly what they have to abide by. But to call somebody and say, you don't need a lawyer, we're just going to kind of come in and bro out basically and chat, I think that sends a whole different message. And it'll be interesting to see what this judge says when he gets all the papers. And, you know, yes, there's the fact that maybe it's not illegal, but he may look at this with a host of other evidence and say that this was a prosecution, at least in Flynn's case, that was done with bias. So I think this could be a piece of some broader piece of the puzzle, or the judge may just say, hey,
why would you bring up bias in terms of sitting down with General Flynn?
So if they call General Flynn, for instance, and say, you don't need to bring a lawyer, and they try to catch him, you know, maybe saying something untruthful or something that they could corroborate a different way. We saw at what you had mentioned, James Comey saying we pulled one over on him. And then if you take that with maybe, and I'm not saying they exist, I don't know about it, but maybe other pieces of evidence that show behavior patterns like that potentially, then you can look at that and from some various legal perspective say, it appears they had it out for this guy from the beginning. I don't know that, but this may be the piece of the puzzle that the judge is trying to put together. Or when it's all done, he may just say, okay, well, you shouldn't have done it, but anyway.
All right. And I want to point out, too, you're a military veteran, so you understand that when you bring that general in, and I mean, there is some context to some of this. We'll move on with this. I want to talk with you about Michael Cohen and just first get your reaction to the news today of him reacting to my interview with the president, where the president said he did not direct hush money payments for him to pay off women. Michael Cohen says the president did.
I don't think you can take a lot of what Cohen says. You have to take some of it with a grain of salt. I mean, really, this case comes down to whether the president knew what was being done or not, and then whether he knew that that was a violation potentially of any kind of campaign law. Because, again, Michael Cohen may have just said, yeah, if president says, hey, just handle something, assuming your lawyer is going to do it legally, then that's done. The other question, though, even if all this comes out, and it's found out that the president knew, et cetera, then the question is, what is the penalty under campaign finance law, and how do we make sure that that penalty is done fairly, not because the president's the president, not because maybe somebody doesn't like him, but as is done with other situations similar to this. The FEC throws out campaign finance violations all the time, and they throw out fines. So the question of criminal versus a campaign fine is probably something we have to get a lot more information on.
Yeah, a fine is usually what it is. And you bring up an interesting point. So, and that in fact would be, I don't know if the word bias is right, but it would be maybe looking at somebody not as equally or as fairly when you adjudicate the case and then you put forth the punishment if it's not equal to how you would do it with anybody else. Last word from you?
Yeah, that's right. Look, I believe in the legal system in this country, but if we pretend like agents don't have political bias either way, then we're doing ourselves a disservice, and that needs to be monitored so that that doesn't exist in our justice system. Equal justice under the law, whether you're a Republican, Democrat, or anything else.
All right. Representative Kinzinger, thank you very much. Great to see you. Happy holidays to you.
You too.